So, this is our next 4 verses. But as I have been telling you from the beginning, Tattvartha is not a difficult scripture to understand. The important thing with Tattvartha is, okay, my request to all of you, and I said it last week as well, and I'm saying it again, do not miss a class. That is the first thing. Secondly is કે તમને લાગે કે હું confused છું કે આ બધા concepts મને સમજ નથી પડતા. Don't worry. The most important thing for you to know is this. If you understand, and that is why I've been repeating myself again and again, that these, especially Samyak Darshan, Jnana Charitrani Moksha Marga, and Jiva Shrav Ban Samvar Nichara Mokshas Tattva, these 2 verses encompass basically what we are going to do when we complete the Tattvartha Sutra. Okay? So it becomes very important કે તમે મિસ ના કરો, તમે concepts introduce thase, do not get your head, say, this is too much for me, because this is something which is rarely taught. Tattvartha Jagama, I do not know if you know, but it is not a scripture which is on a regular basis taught the way we are doing it. So I would not miss his classes if I were you. Okay. So the next ones are methods of analyzing, knowing and understanding Samyak Darshan. Okay. And the categories of truth. Truth being the 9 tattvas or the 7 tattvas. Okay. So the first one is for Nikshep. Nikshep means classification, where you classify. So last week I briefly touched on it. Nam, Sthapna, Dravya and Bhav. And I used the example of your soul. And I used it as an analogy to compare to Mahavir Swami. So I would say કે Mahavir Bhagwan, હું એમ કહું કે મહાવીર તો આપણે બધા એમ જ સમજે ને મહાવીર ભગવાન. Am I right? Okay. But if you were to walk outside on the street and if you meet some Gujarati person and you mention the word Mahavir, what would they understand? They would think that it is somebody's name. Okay? So that is noun. Okay? So that is noun where you just give somebody a name. For example, you might give somebody a name Sevak. Sevak means somebody who serves. પણ ઘણી ફેરે સેવક નામે હોય ઇન્ડિયામાં. So that is just a name. Sthapna is where you create a statue. So we could have some great sevak who had done a lot of work for India એનું statue હોય. તો એનું પણ નામ સેવક કહેવાય. જે મહાવીર સ્વામીનો આપણે સ્ટેચ્યુ કરીએ તો આપણે એને પણ ભગવાન જ લેખીએ ને, because એની પ્રાણ પ્રતિષ્ઠા કરેલી હોય. It has been inaugurated and therefore we actually worship Mahavir Swami as if he was physically present amongst us. Is it clear? So that is Sthapna. Then Dravya is what is latent within you. So all of you have a soul. Agreed? Mahavir Swami also had a soul. Was his soul like yours? How many say yes and how many say no?
Yes.
Yes and no.
Can you raise your hands, please?
Yes.
And how many say no? No one. So his soul, the qualities of his soul and your soul were the same. His soul was in Bhav, which is the last one, where it actually manifested itself completely in its purest form. Our soul is in Dravya. That means it is still in its latent form. We have not realized its true potential. And we have not realized its true potential because there are various influences which keep on affecting us. So we cannot realize our true potential. And Samyak Darshan is your true potential. Now, all of us would have experienced Samyak Darshan either in this life or in your past lives. Now, you ask me why. Why do I say that? Why do I say that?
Because we're born as humans.
You are not only born as humans, you have the good fortune of listening to these qualities which can transform a human life. And that ability is only available to people who are, it makes you conducive. You are acting like a conduit for this knowledge to pass through you to your soul. There are other 500,000, I don't know how many thousand Jains or whoever out there who are not physically present. I'm not saying that they do not have Samyak or they are not experiencing Samyak Darshan. The point is that Jaine Samyak Darshan through in. They want to listen to spiritual talks all the time, or more often than not. They want to know more about themselves. They want to discover themselves more. They want to understand why this life functions the way it does. These are quests which are eternal quests, but you have that passion, you want to know. If Samyak Darshan has happened to you in the past, it could happen like a fleeting moment where it just happens and you do not realize that Samyak Darshan has happened to you. The reason why you do not realize Samyak Darshan has happened to you is there are two reasons. One is that you first of all do not know what to call it because you have never experienced that kind of inner bliss. So you do not know Kenu Sunama. The second is that even if it happens, because your knowledge is not so pure, you are not able to retain it for longer. So it comes and it goes. But once Samyak Darshan has happened to you, ladies and gentlemen, then, not now, after several lifetimes, whenever, moksha is written for you. So that is why Samyak Darshan, there is a lot of stress being given to Samyak Darshan that make this effort to know Samyak Darshan. Yeah. So basically I've told you that you have the potential of achieving Samyak Darshan. You might have even achieved Samyak Darshan in the past, but in this moment now, you are in latent form. It is there within you, it has not manifested itself. So that is what Nam, Sthapna, Dravya and Bhav means. Are you clear? So Mahavir Swami, Mahavir out there is just a name. For us is Bhagwan. Any Murti hoy Derasarma, we regard it as Mahavir Swami being physically present. Any qualities we worship. Okay. Dravya is where Mahavir Swami was in his previous birth as Naisa, where enama latent qualities hati, but he had not physically blossomed. I mean, he had not spiritually blossomed. But only in his last bhav, when everything started coming together, things started happening and he realized his true potential and he went to moksha. So every aspect of our life is governed by this. We give a name to something. On the basis of name, we assume a lot of things about that person. You know, if I were to say Justin Bieber, okay, what would you all think? Does anybody know Justin Bieber? Sorry, that name just came to my mind. I don't know. Madhuri Dixit. But there could be other Madhuri Dixits, I'm sure. But when you listen to that name, what you assume, so in your mind, what happens? You see this absolutely gorgeous woman, very elegant, very graceful. You know, it just comes in your mind, and maybe the last photo you might have seen of her, it also appears in your mind, so your imagination. So just on a name, we assume like a million things. Okay? So every aspect of our life. So for example, then you might see, you know, some, if you go to Madame Tussauds, you might see a wax thing of Madhuri Dixit, which is a sthapna. Okay? And you would think that, oh my gosh, and people will go and take photographs as if she is a real Madhuri Dixit present. You know, they will pose and whatever. You know, put their arms around her and all that kind of thing. Okay? And then there is Dravya, okay, where you also have the potential of becoming Madhuri Dixit or somebody else with the same name could become Madhuri Dixit. They could be equally as beautiful, except that they've not been discovered by Bollywood or some producer somewhere. They've not made a very famous film or whatever. And then bhav is when Madhuri Dixit herself is acting in a film or is physically present somewhere or is doing something, and that is bhav. So that is her true self. So every aspect of our life is governed by these four things. We do not think like that, so we do not even need to worry about it, but we need to know that there are these levels in which we actually experience.
Is this only related to Jeev only, or you can have it for Jeev as well?
So the only person who can comprehend things is Jeev.
No, what I'm saying is, the way you put down Nam, Stapna, Dravya and Bhav for Jeevs, could we do the same thing for Ajeev?
Yes.
Like for example, if we take a pencil,
Yeah.
so the Nam would be a pencil, the Stapna would be the actual pencil.
Yeah, the actual physical form.
Yeah.
And bhav could be where there is lead somewhere which has not been mined properly and made into a pencil.
That would be
dravya.
Yeah.
That would be dravya. And bhav is when the pencil is physically in your hand and you are writing with it. So it applies to every aspect of our life. So basically, I mentioned all these things about Maharishi, Dravya and Bhav. So these concepts are used to understand the seven reals. So everything, कर्म ने पण एवी रीते समझाय, આપણે નિર્જરા સંવર બધાને એવી રીતે સમજાય. And these are the four levels on which we experience or understand reality. But in our life as it is now, we tend to confuse them. We accept terms and words at face value and experience disappointment when they do not correspond with expected action. So આપણા મગજમાં એક imagination, એક photograph build થઈ જાય just on the basis of name. We do not know the qualities of that person, we do not know what they have achieved or whatever it is that they are doing, and we just make a lot of assumptions, and when they do not come to our confirmation, we experience disappointment. So the next one is praman nyayar digama. Sorry, praman nyayar adigama. Yeah, so what it means is reason knowledge, adhigam. Knowledge is adhigam, okay? Can be acquired through praman and nai. What do you think I mean here? What do you think? What do you understand by nai? Has anybody studied Anekantvad here?
Only one bit of a truth.
One bit of a truth. So, what we are standing now, we say that this is a library. Okay? Now, what you see here are the books there. There could be another layer of books behind them, we do not see them. We assume that I have a layer of books at the first level in the front. We do not know that there could be books behind them. Nai is where you see something from one aspect only. And all our lives, we go through life seeing things from one aspect, one point of view only, which is our point of view, which is colored by our imagination, experiences, how we've been brought up, lots of things. Yeah. So we are not able to objectively identify something the way it should be. So we see it from one point of view. Praman is where you see something from several points of view. So you will look at it, you will also examine, you will pick up the book and you will say, oh, in Pachari there is another level of books. And then you will probably look behind. If the shelf is wider, there could be another level of books. Yeah. So similarly, in our lives, when you see and when an incident happens, we only look at it from our point of view. And while we are looking at it, it is colored, or we wear these spectacles which are made up of our experiences, our biases, how we've been brought up, also how the conditioning we've experienced from the society around us. All of those things converge, and then we make a decision, and this is how we absolutely absorb information in our mind. Okay, this is how something should be. And then we take that to be the truth. But is it really the truth? Do you agree, Ketu, it is a truth?
It's partial truth.
It's partial truth. So do you think that that partial truth is important? Sorry? It is a starting point and it is very important. But we cannot make assumption, okay, just because I'm seeing it that way, that is how the entire truth is. And this is what science does. So what science does is science will take a particular aspect of a particular thing and they will test that and they will make an assumption, okay, if that proves right in this particular instance, it will prove right in the entire occurrence. Yeah, this is how science works, this is how experiments work. Because they will take a particular assumption, okay, oh, if we do this plus this and this, then this is how it should work. Then they try and test it. And then they will extrapolate it to say that, okay, this applies to the entire population or entire. This is how censuses are done. They will go around to about maybe 50 or 100 people and they will get an opinion and then they will say, okay, you know, this is how the society thinks. This is how things are done. Our entire lives are based on this aspect. Where small things are decided, you know, small viewpoints decide how the entire thing works. But there is obviously another aspect, and the only place which this is explained in that way is Jainism, where it says that Praman is made up of several aspects. It's made up of. The whole truth is hidden from you. It is very important for you to discover the whole truth. Similarly, Samyak Darshan is also a partial truth. When you experience something and it happens, you will use your experience, your judgment to make a decision about it without experiencing or without realizing, and that is why this knowledge becomes very important. In order to understand the entire truth, this knowledge becomes very important. Now I can see very puzzled people here. Are you very puzzled? Am I making sense? Don't just nod. You are allowed to ask questions. I will not punish you.
Do we keep open-minded? Is that how we do it?
You have to be open-minded, but you have to use what is called vivek. Vivek is where you make a distinction. So open-minded is good, but you can't, the thing is that you need to have a control over your mind. So open-minded is good, but the mind should not control you. You should control the mind. You make a decision. This is the right thing. This is the wrong thing.
Is this like saying don't look by its cover?
Yes, precisely.
It's like,
Yeah. And that's why I keep on saying કે તત્વાર્થ સૂત્ર નામ સાંભળીને ડરી નહીં જવાનું કે oh my god આ તો મને કાંઈ સમજ નહીં પડે આ કેવી રીતે સમજ પડશે. It is not difficult.
How can you know what is wrong and what is right when you only know nai all the time?
So you have to discover. This is the thing. You have to experiment it for yourself. And that is why questioning is very important. Doubts are not good. Prashna puchvama, there is nothing wrong. When you question something, there is nothing wrong. But when you have shanka, which is doubt, that is wrong. Because you need to have a little bit of faith in your own abilities and faith in what has been written. When you send your children to school, you have faith in the teacher, don't you? You have the faith in the syllabus, good or bad, whether they're going to teach maths, how relevant is maths to their lives, you do not know. But you've been told that maths is very important, you've been told that English language is very important. How it is taught, you do not know. You do not attend school yourself, your children go to school, and even if they come and complain to you that my teacher was very bad and they fell asleep in the class while they were teaching, you will say, you are always complaining, you should never complain about your teachers, isn't it? So that is where Praman and Nai become very important. You need to use your judgment. But you need to be very clear in your mind, because the mind plays tricks with us. આપણે બહુ સગવડિયું કરે નાખે. You know, it will tell you, it will justify events, it will justify things for you, and it will say, oh yeah, but it's okay. You know, in this instance it's fine, but next time you don't do it. If in one instance it is not fine, it is not fine forever. You need to make the decision. So Praman and Naya are essential for the full and true knowledge of anything. Okay? For example, when we cross a road, આપણે રસ્તો cross કરતા હોય, in a split second we judge if there's a car coming, the speed at which it is coming, the distance or the width of the road, so that whether we'll be able to cross that road within time before the car comes and hits us. Make sure that, you know, the condition of the road, whether it's slippery, all those judgments we make in split second before we cross the road. So we use Praman and Nai all the time, except that we are not conscious about it. આપણે ઘણા aspects of life in our lives, very, very complicated situations, we will make certain judgments, we will make certain decisions, but we are also looking after our own safety. And here we are looking after our soul safety. Okay? So knowledge is fundamentally an inseparable feature of our consciousness. So what happens is that Samyak Darshan જ્યારે થાય ત્યારે to understand that experience of Samyak Darshan, knowledge becomes very important. So the knowledge that you have understood so far actually becomes alive. From information, it actually becomes true knowledge. So do not say, okay, oh, mane, you know, I've just been listening, and I do not discredit anyone who sits, ગમે તે સંત પુરુષ માણસ આવે, જો તમને એ શીખાડતા હોય કે કહેતા હોય about your own soul, your own salvation, then it is worth listening to them. Even if not the whole flower, just a petal of a flower, if you listen, it can transform your life. So that is something you should never say, okay, oh, I do not understand, it is all. There is something which is happening. There is a transformation which is happening. Now the next one. Nirdesh Swamitva Sadhanadhikarana Sthiti Vidanantaha. Okay? Nirdesh or mention. So for example, Samyak Darshan. It is defined as belief in now Tattva as they are. It is a description that I've just given you, that you are a Jeev, you are a soul. A Jeev is non-soul, non-living, and there is a relationship between the Jeev and a Jeev which is governed by Ashrav, Bandh, Samvar, Nirjara, and the final state that you want to achieve is Moksha. Okay? So what it does is it just says that this is what the definition is. So that is what Nirdesh or mention is. Swamitva or possessorship is where only living beings can experience Samyak Darshan. A chair cannot experience Samyak Darshan, books cannot experience Samyak Darshan, anything which is not living cannot experience Samyak Darshan. So that means who possesses Samyak Darshan? The soul. You already have Samyak Darshan in you. Do you know that? Except that you do not know. You are in this dravya state, in this latent state. And this is what we are trying to peel. We are trying to peel this million petal lotus to see what is at the center. So Swamitva or possessorship, only living beings as opposed to inanimate entities can possess Samyak Darshan. Sadhan or instrument, it is attained through subsidence come destruction or destruction of karmic matter. Now, I used these terms last time. So, Samyak Darshan kevi rite thai? Or what is Samyak Darshan? There are three states of Samyak Darshan. One is where there is subsidence. So, I use the analogy of a glass filled with water and you put mud in it. What happens when you stir it? So the water becomes muddy. Am I right? Then if you allow it to settle, if you keep the glass on the side, what happens? The mud starts settling at the bottom. Not all of the mud is settled. Part of the mud is still floating around. Some particles are still floating around in the water, but it is still clearer than the water you had before when you mixed the mud in. Is that clear? So, what subsidence means is that tamara karma, they settle at the bottom. Not all the karmas, but a large proportion of the karma settle down, and the true nature of yourself is revealed to you, partially. So this is Samyak Darshan, which is momentary, where it just happens to you. There is a transformation within yourself, and it happens to you, and this is called subsidence, where your karmas have subsided. They haven't disappeared, they have not been destroyed, they are still there, but tamara etla badha punya na uday hoy ke all your karmas or a lot of the karmas get subsided, and you are able to experience this bliss. Then the next one is subsidence come destruction. So what happens is that if you remove some of the mud from the water, there is still mud in the water, some of it is still floating around, but some of it has been removed. That is when some of your karmas are getting destroyed and some are subsided or settled down at the bottom, and that is a state where again Samyak Darshan happens to you. It might happen to you for a slightly longer duration, but it is still not permanent. The permanent state is where there is destruction of karmic matter, where you get rid of all the muddy particles from the glass, and the water becomes clear completely. So the terminology here is opshamik, which is subsidence, kshayopshamik, which is subsidence come destruction, or kshay, where you've gotten rid of the karmas. Do not worry about the terminology. I'm only mentioning this to you because you might hear the words again. Are you clear about that? These are the three ways in which Samyak Darshan manifests itself. And as I said, all of the people in this class have experienced Samyak Darshan, if not in this life, in prior lives. Adhikara or location. So, the soul is the only one which experiences Samyak Darshan. So, the location is within the soul. Okay? Sthiti or duration, I just mentioned to you that it is attained through destruction of karmas. Its duration is infinite in the cases of spiritually advanced souls, or finite in the case of other souls. So infinite is where you have totally gotten rid of your karmas. Therefore, infinite Samyak Darshan is there with you. Permanently, it is there, it just doesn't go away. But it is finite in the cases of people like us, where we have either partial destruction of our karmas or subsidence of our karmas. Are you clear or are you confused? Please speak up.
Clear.
Clear. Okay. So vidhan or classification. Rational perception can be classified in a variety of ways. So I mentioned it can be destruction based, it can be subsidence based, or subsidence come destruction based. So classification are the three classifications which I told you. So let me go back. So Samyak Darshan is called Samyak Darshan. It has been defined, or the mention is Samyak Darshan. Okay. Swamitva or possessorship is only with the soul. It is not with anything else. Only living things have Samyak Darshan, and that is why ahimsa is regarded as parama dharma, because ahimsa means that every living being is a possessor of a soul, and you have no right to interfere with the soul's progress. That is what ahimsa means. Okay? Sadhan or instrument. The instrument of achieving Samyak Darshan are these three things, which is either where you subside, or you have part destruction, part subsidence, or complete destruction of your karma. Then you have location. So the location of Samyak Darshan is within your soul. That is where all the qualities are. You have Samyak Darshan, Samyak Jnana, Samyak Charitra, Samyak Virya. You have all the qualities within you, except that we do not know because there is a cloud of karma which is covering our soul. Duration, as I said, it can be an instant like lightning, or it can be a bit longer, or it can stay forever, depending on your own state. And classification is, as I said, the three classifications which I mentioned. Okay. The next one is Sat Sankhya Kshetra Sparshanam Kalantar Bhavalap Bahudvaischa. Okay. That is the next one, which is the last one for today. So Sat or existence. Samyak Darshan again exists in all souls. In a worldly soul, it unveils it through self-endeavor. That means આપણે બધાએ મહેનત કરવી પડે. હવે there are also instances of people who have achieved Samyak Darshan through either intuition, where they look at certain things manifest and they automatically realize, and history has been full of cases like that, like Srimad Rajchandra, Shripad Raja, there are so many people who have been ready to, spiritually they have been so advanced that they have been ready to experience this Samyak Darshan. But for us lot, maybe some of us are spiritually advanced, but for us lot, we have to make an effort, and the effort has to be through understanding and learning scriptures. Sankhya or number. You consider the liberated souls, and the number of such souls is infinite. Okay? So, the number of liberated souls according to Jain Dharma is infinite. અનાદિકાળથી પહેલા પણ આટલા બધા થયેલા છે અને ફ્યુચરમાં પણ આટલા બધા souls thase who have been liberated. That means they have achieved Samyak Darshan Jnana Charitra. While the rational souls amongst the worldly beings is finite. So within us lot, as you know, our classroom maybe there are 40 or 50 of you. There are hundreds out there who do not wish to know. So the same thing applies to Samyak Darshan, that the people who wish to understand themselves are very few on this world. But there are infinite people who attain liberation, and there will always be infinite people who will attain, infinite souls who will attain liberation in the future as well. But the souls who are on the process of being liberated are only limited, very limited on this. Now this, I'm talking about our entire cosmic system and where Jeev reside. I'm not talking about the rest. So wherever there are souls living is where Samyak Darshan is possible, but there are only limited number who will experience it, because the rest will be sleeping at home or watching their favorite serials. Okay? Kshetra or field of occupation. Rational souls are found in extremely tiny extent of the Jain universe. Okay, so that means, the Jain universe is made up of the middle bit, it is made up of top bits, and then it is a Shila at the top, and there is Narak at the bottom. That is the Jain universe. The middle bit is where you have Mahavidev Kshetra, you have Bharat Kshetra, you have so many different worlds. And this is where the souls or Jeev occupy, and this is where Samyak Darshan can be found. It can't be found in Narak, or it can't be found in Dev. Even people, Devmai Samyak Darshan na hoy. એ લોકો પુણ્ય બહુ હોય, so that is why they have achieved Devlok, but they have not achieved Samyak. Only people who are born on earth are capable of achieving Samyak Darshan. Yeah.
I didn't understand the last bit you said about Dev, that they haven't achieved Samyak Darshan.
No.
But they have reached moksha.
No, they are not in moksha. They are people who are these are souls who have done certain very, very good deeds, and they have achieved certain qualities which say we do not have. They might have much longer lifespans than us, much, much longer. they have a lot of their permanent material wealth or material happiness. They do not fall ill or stuff like that. Okay? That is their state. But they have not achieved Samyak Darshan. Only us lot are capable of achieving Samyak Darshan. And that is why even they wish to come down on earth again to experience Samyak Darshan. The danger of being a Dev is that you become so used to that quality of life, you start beginning to think that that is moksha, but that is not moksha.
Can you give examples of any devs?
So all the Devs that we have in Jainism, like we have Padmavati Devi, we have Manibhadravir, we have all of them. Yeah, they are basically residing in Devlok, which is another world altogether. They can come down on earth and help people who are on the path of Jainism. So Jainism has Shashan Dev and Devs who actually come and help us lot. So whenever we are doing any religious activity, if you are doing it with pure heart, automatically these good vibrations, these good energies descend from the Devlok and they come and help you. And this is actually, it does happen. So, I'm not going to give you examples, but it does happen. I've seen it. I have, you don't see it, but you can experience it. Yeah?
Something like if you have fun, it helps you out,
Yeah.
yeah?
But like for example, if you are on some people say you start, your children are getting married. And some people at the beginning of the marriage or before the children, they might have some prayers or something at home. And at that stage, you might invoke, and a lot of our very powerful sutras have invocations of these Devis, where you invoke. But if you do it with a lot of bhav, then you request that during this 1 week or whatever of celebrations or wedding and leading up to the wedding, that there shouldn't be any negative things which might happen. You request that, and they can manifest and they can do it. They cannot negate the effect of karmas. They do not have power to do that, but they can help you if you are walking on the right path. So if you say, okay, I want to understand Tattvartha Sutra, please allow me to understand. If you do it with a lot of bhav, they will make it very conducive to make you understand. But they are not in moksha. Okay, so sparshan or field of touch. Sorry.
So what you're saying is, would humans, they would not even progress to develop?
Humans do. If you do a lot of very good punya, very good positive karmas, they do.
But then they have not experienced Samyak Darshan. Humans have.
Humans can. So the state of Samyak Darshan is where you do not have punya or you do not have pap. Your soul is basically getting revealed. So the soul only gets revealed where, as I mentioned, there is a partial destruction of your karmas and a partial subsidence of your karmas, or where your karmas subside, or where you destroy your karmas. The 3 states. Yeah? So the first state is where there is subsidence of your karma. So your karmas are still there, good and bad, punya and pap. So do not confuse punya as having samyak darshan. Punya is still a karma, it's not something you want to keep with you. Okay? So when punya and pap both subside, your soul basically, the clouds separate, and you can see the sun shining through. But only for a brief moment, and then the clouds come again together. So karmas again come up and they block out that light. Where there is a partial destruction, what happens is a few clouds are floating around, but not, so some have disappeared. So at occasions, the sun shines through, sometimes it's covered by clouds. And where there is total destruction is where the clouds all disappear, the sky is clear blue, and the sun is shining through.
So those souls which have experienced Samyak Darshan would not go to Devlok.
So those souls which have experienced Samyak Darshan can also go to Devlok or can also go to Narak, but the thing with them is that their clouds have come back again.
You said they will not.
So they cannot get to moksha.
Okay.
They cannot achieve Samyak Darshan in its purest. The Samyak bit they cannot achieve in living in Devlok. They have to come on earth again. They have to do this whole process of cleansing themselves, purifying themselves, and then only they can, move up to Siddhshila.
So is it like if they don't have the reasoning, they don't get the reasoning in the Devlok?
So because Devlok has got a lot of good things happening, good as in the worldly things, you tend to get very involved in it. And when you get involved in it and you think there is no tomorrow, and that this is going to last forever, you never want to purify yourself. The thing with us is that because good and bad keep on happening to us, there is always a desire to achieve purity.
So we have two choices, reasoning and they don't get that.
No, they don't. So if they are realized, if they see people achieving moksha here, then they feel that I wish I could do the same. But they have to come again on this earth and do it. So, sparshan or field of touch, an active omniscient can perceive the entire universe. If you achieved moksha, you can see everything. There is nothing hidden from you. While others, not completely realized beings, cannot, or they can only see so much. So when we are going to look at knowledge, the different types of knowledge, and one of the knowledges is Manaparya Gnan, then there is Audi Gnan. These are various forms of knowledges which are superior to the knowledge that we physically use now. It is like reading people's minds, able to see what is happening in the future. Those qualities can manifest themselves, but that is again still limited. The purest knowledge is Keval Gnan, where you are totally pure, you know what is happening in the world, you can see what is happening everywhere, and you have a total comprehension of what your true nature is. So therefore, that field is only experienced by active omniscience. As I said, these are things for you to just know. Do not get your head around it and say, oh my God, I'm so confused, because these are things that actually describe Samyak Darshan, or this is how Samyak Darshan actually can be explained. So Kal or time, that means the time of attaining Samyak Darshan is varied. As I told you, it can be a sprint of a second, it can be slightly longer, or it can be permanent. And the interval can be limited time. For example, as I said, it is the same as Kal or time. It can happen at any particular moment in time. It can be with you continuously, depending on your state as a soul. And bhava condition is what kind of Samyak Darshan we are experiencing, which is again total destruction of karma, partial subsidence and partial destruction, or subsidence of karma. And Alpa Bahutva is the numerical strength. The number of souls having destruction-based rational perception is maximum, while those having subsidence-based rational perception are fewest. Obviously, there are more souls who have achieved pure Samyak Darshan as opposed to some souls who are partially. Have I confused you completely? So to understand into a thing or phenomenon, it means to acquire knowledge concerning it and to consider over it. The chief means of doing so is to raise various questions relating to it. So this is what we were addressing, Hamra. The more questions you ask, the more something you understand. Am I right? So hence the questions are gateways to comprehension of things. So the reason why I was telling you all this, lightning, and you feel, oh my God, big revelation, I feel like something has happened to me, then because you have, Sandip has told you all this, you'll say, oh yeah, he told me this, ping, this thing will strike in your mind, and you will realize that this is Samyak Darshan. So that is why this thing is being mentioned. At this moment in our life, it is very important for us to understand that we all possess Samyak Darshan, we all have Samyak knowledge, it's just that we have not manifested it within ourselves. Because we live in the world outside and we think that is real, we do not believe that what we have is real. આપણે ભલે બધા કહેતા હોય કે હું આત્મા છું ને હું અવિનાશી છું ને હું અજર અમર છું ને whatever, but we sincerely speaking, we do not believe it ourselves. And when you start believing it yourselves, you will have the courage of your own confidence and you will make this extra effort to know, to understand yourself. So here I was giving an example of an aeroplane. So if you've never seen an aeroplane, see Leonardo da Vinci was drawing these whole diagrams of these flying machines. If you've never seen that, you will ask questions. You will ask the name of the thing, its color and form, its owner, its means of construction, its seating quarters, its maximum durability, its types, and in receiving an answer to his question, it augments his stock of knowledge. So basically all these things will tell you, okay, this is what Samyak Darshan is, this is what Jeev is, this is what Ajiv is, this is how Ashram works, this is how path is bound, this is how Samvar is done, where I can stop the inflow of karmas, and this is how I can do Nirjara, that means getting rid of my karmas. And that is why all those various definitions were given. So when you hear about the pathway to moksha and the spiritual tattvas that are worthy of rejection, example, bandhan, ashram, or acceptance, example, Samvar and